Hello everybody and welcome to our home here in Brittany in northwest France. I'm Jane, my husband Mike is behind the camera. We're early retirees, debt and mortgage free, and we live a really frugal life here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Wednesday we open our home, we invite you in for a midweek money chat. And this week's midweek money chat is all about how to live a good life on less money. Now, if you watched last week's video, you will know that we had a good old chit chat, didn't we, about inflation and rising prices. But that has a knock-on effect, doesn't it? Because we've all only got so much money. So we all make sure the four walls are paid for. We make sure the bills are paid for, but they've all gone up, haven't they? So what's happening with an awful lot of people is that little bit of buffer that they had for the things that they enjoyed in life has been swallowed up by the costs of living. And we're having to look at big adjustments into our lives. And it can be really discouraging, can't it? We can feel really dispirited and quite disappointed that we can't do this and we can't do that. And it involves a big load of changes. So that's what we're really going to look at this week. We're going to look at those big changes and how we cope with them and how we maintain our well-being with all of those changes taking place, and how we can still get lots and lots of enjoyment out of life, even if we are left with a lot less money. Let's start with a quick recap of why we are all faced with having so much less money than we're used to having. Lots of places in the world, energy prices have doubled, absolutely doubled in the UK, if not more than doubled. Here in France, for example, oil for people's homes, gas for people's homes have really gone up, and it's causing people great financial hardships. Food prices have gone up on average by 10%, but in a lot of cases, we all know, don't we, they have gone up by considerably more than that, very much more than that. We know a lot of places that rents have gone up. We know that mortgages have gone up slightly. We are also, and I'm looking at my notes here, we know that bus fares, travel prices, getting to work has gone up. All of these things have gone up. So in lots and lots of cases, huge amounts of people's money is just going to surviving, isn't it? So we do know that all of those prices have gone up. So there's a quick recap of we know why we have got less money in our bank account at the end of every single month. In our modern world, I think we've been sold this belief that there's certain things that should make us happy. And I'm going to quote something that I've heard recently, actually, that somebody was discussing the going to theme parks and going out to eat and going on holidays. And I'm going to quote exactly what they said. And they said it's what makes life worth living. And I'm going to challenge that in this midweek money chat this week. I'm going to challenge that we don't need to do those things. We don't need to have those things to be happy. I want to normalise the mundane. I want to normalise the nice cup of tea and a biscuit. I want to normalise sitting in the garden and reading a book. I really want to normalise living a life where you don't have much money, but you can really focus on your well-being and your happiness, even though you've not got much money. So let's get straight into our first points. by thinking about our homes and what is it about our homes that make us happy. The greatest thing that I think makes us happy about our homes is it is our soft place to fall. It's where we feel safe. It's where we feel loved. It's where we feel happy. None of that comes out of a new kitchen. None of that comes out of a new sofa or new curtains or doing anything to our house. And it can be quite frustrating, can't it, when we don't have much money, that we can't do the things to our house that we would like to do. Well, I want to normalise make, do and mend. I want to normalise just rearranging the furniture when you get a bit fed up of it, moving the pictures around, moving the curtains from one room to another. I want to normalise finding something on Facebook Marketplace for a couple of quid to jazz the place up a bit. I want to normalise going down the charity shop when you want new bedding and not turning to the high street, for example. I really, really want to normalise that. And I also want to normalise not buying anything at all. I absolutely want to normalise that. And I want us to look at how our homes make us happy. I want us to focus on, can we make it cosy? Can we keep it clean? There's different ways that we approach our house, and I'm just thinking about when we had lockdowns, for example, and we were all stuck at home. There was two ways that we went about it. We either went completely cosy and just wore our pyjamas all the time, or we had a really good sort out. But either way, we made the best of our homes. Some people felt terribly, terribly trapped in their homes, and I do want to add that point there. But we've got that, and it's being lifted, and the world is changing. But still, I want us to normalise our homes just as they are. They don't have to be a statement piece. They do not have to have curb appeal or a wow factor. As long as they are warm and comfortable, clean and safe, isn't that all a home needs to be? It doesn't need to be any more than that. The second part that I want to talk about today, when we're talking about living well off less money, is to focus on our health. And that is really important. I don't know about where you live or wherever you are, but access to medical attention isn't getting any easier in some parts of the world. It is getting to be extraordinarily, prohibitively expensive. So all that we can do to look after our own health and well-being is more imperative than it's ever been before. Eating as healthily as we can, drinking as much water as we need in our day, not going too mad on the caffeine, limiting any alcohol or sugar or stuff like that we know really isn't doing us any good at all. We know it's important to get out and get some fresh air every day, take ourselves off for a walk. And it is also so vitally important to look after our mental health, to rest, to get plenty of sleep, to turn off the technology and the devices at night time and just go to bed with an alarm clock to get us up in the morning, to turn off the TV and to read a book, to take time to phone our friends, to speak to our friends, to be with the people who matter to us. So I'm going to quickly skirt around those health issues, that we need to be mindful of this. If we've got less money, we might be feeling a bit down in the dumps. We might not do the things that we used to enjoy doing. We may not be able to afford to do them, but we do need to be mindful of our health. We do need to look after ourselves. Now, in our midweek money chat this week about living well on a lot less money, we've looked at home, we've had a quick chat about that, we've had a really brief look at health, but our big focus this week is all about happiness. And I'm going to start off with happiness for our children. And many of us watching this now may have children. They might be young, they might be teenagers, but we really do need to think about the happiness of our kids. And you might suddenly think, well, how am I going to do that with a lot less money? I want you to do your networking. I want you to do your research. I really want you to look into all of those things that you can do for free. What's happening in your local library, if you still have one? What's happening sports-wise for a very low amount of money where you live? What's happening in amongst your own social groups? Now, my children are 29 and 35, and growing up I had hardly any money at all to spend on the children when they were children. But one thing that we did all the time were play dates. So we would meet up with their friends at the weekend. They would come to our house. We would go to their house. We'd meet up in parks and places as well when the weather was better. We'd get together, we'd draw pictures, we'd play in the garden, for example. But we would find any ways that we possibly could to go places that didn't cost any money. We knew the walks that we could go on. We did have a car, so we did know of places that we could go to for free. There were forest walks, for example. There were countryside. Where are places that you can go to very cheaply? Maybe, for example, you may just have to pay to park the car. Where are places that you can go? We used to use supermarket offers and deals and coupons to pay for things like National Trust memberships, but there still are low-cost options for doing that. Look at those places that you can take your kids and places that you can go and things that you can do with your kids that cost almost nothing or are free at all. Something else that we might have to change and get used to when we have a lot less money is how we socialise. And I want to give you lots of ways that you can go about socialising and keeping up those social networks and not spending so much money. If you're used to going out to eat with friends, one of the simplest things to do might be just to downshift. Going out to lunch is a lot cheaper than going out for an evening meal. Going out for coffee and a cake is a lot cheaper than going out for lunch, for example. Meeting up with friends in each other's houses is the cheapest ways of socialising. And it's something that Mike and I do with our friends on a very regular basis. A simple way of doing that, and a really British way of doing this, is afternoon tea, where you literally make people a few sandwiches and a bit of cake, and you give them a few cups of tea, and all you've known is you whiled away a couple of hours, you've chatted the hind legs off a donkey, and you've put the world to rights. There's great ways that people socialise that really doesn't cost very much money. Getting together and going out for a walk with people, meeting up on a walk somewhere, people who get together and run with their friends together, or play five-a-side football, and they've organised it themselves and they've just hired a court or a pitch somewhere together. There are so many ways with a little bit of creativity and thought about it that we can get together and socialise together, and they are so important for our mental well-being and our happiness to keep going with those social networks. Now, something else I want to bring up here, and a great way to socialise and a great way to be happy, is to volunteer. There's been huge studies about happiness all over the world, and the happiest people have social networks. And if you haven't got a social network, if you don't know people, if you're in an area you just think, well, how do I get to know people? One of the greatest ways to do that is to volunteer, and there are so many ways to do that. You might go to an animal sanctuary and help look after the animals, groom the donkeys, cuddle the cats, go and walk the dogs at the dog's home. You might get out there and go and socialise by helping out in an old people's home. You might say, can I be a hospital visitor? Can I be a visitor in old people's homes? They've opened them up again now. We can get out there and we can socialise. And lots of the people who are there don't get any visitors, and they will be really, really pleased to see you. There's lots of other volunteering that we can do. Conservation volunteering is a great thing to do. Whether you're out there helping people to mend footpaths, whether you're out there helping people to clear overgrown areas, whether you're out there in your community as part of cleanup teams or beach cleanup teams, you will be amazed at the community of spirit and having a good laugh with the people out there. So please go out there and look for volunteering opportunities. They are such good fun. A hugely important part of the happiness factor, when your life might be so very different, is giving. Now, giving might seem a strange thing for me to be discussing with you when we're talking about us having less, but we don't have to give money. We can give stuff. So for example, it's really good to have a great big clear out and give your things. Look out in your area, not just for food banks, but there are furniture banks. There are banks for toys, toy banks, and clothing banks. Look them out. Can you take away all the stuff from your house that's cluttering up your house and give it to those people as well? Can you look for those charities that look for old glasses? Can you pick up in your house all those pairs of old glasses, and where can they go? There are even charities that collect bras. How many of us have bought a bra? We'd looked at it and went, well, it was all very pretty, but it's not very comfortable and I don't like it. And we can even send those bras away to people. Then there's skill banks, aren't there? Do you have a skill that you can share with other people? Can you mend things? Can you help people in the community with this? And there are charities and organisations out there looking for people who've got maybe the skill that you have, whether it's a bookkeeping skill, whether it's a budgeting skill, any of those things, whether you are a hairdresser or a beautician or a builder. Sharing those skills out there in the community is a great thing to do. So giving really does help people with their happiness. And there may have been times that they just think, oh, I'm feeling really low. I don't have the money I used to have. I can't do the things I used to do. But there are so very many ways that we can give, and it really does improve the whole part of happiness and well-being in our lives. I do like to sum things up sometimes. So we've looked at our homes being a safe place to fall, that it doesn't need to be fancy, that it doesn't need to show anything off to anybody. We've looked at looking after our health and our mental health in particular, and we've looked at those happiness factors and what does make us really happy. And in all of those, none of those have needed much money at all. And I really want to normalise that. I want us to normalise the fact that we don't need to have a lot of money to live a really good life. We really can't tell, can we, how long this financial period of time is going to go on. But we do know ourselves, we do know that we can be resilient, and we do know that we can get through this. If you've enjoyed this video today, we would ask you one thing: to give it a like. Go on, hit that like button. If you have a comment, a really positive comment that you want to share with us about the good things that we can all do, even if we've got less money, it would be great if you could do that. We just want to thank everybody for watching and see you again next time. Goodbye for now.